This is Dragon 26, the Forest Ghost Dragon. Now, again, with this guy, there's some similarities to this and the common wyvern that I did a few drawings back. And mostly those commonalities have to do with the eye. The size of the eye is really what it comes down to. But I wanted to take sort of another crack at that. And because that eye is so sort of startling to me, I just embraced that on this and call this guy the Forest Ghost Dragon. Now, that could mean a couple of things. The Forest Ghost Dragon could be that his coloring is sort of is like a bluish light pale color or something like that in amongst the the forest greenery, or maybe that refers to the eye itself. And again, maybe his scaling is green, his hide and stuff is green to provide a little more camouflage. But I see this guy as being a fairly good size. He's at a minimum, he's the size of a lion or something like that. So he's definitely a predator. This is not a small animal. Something that definitely is the king of its domain. I think the jaw area just in general on a dragon, especially when you have the mouth open like this, can show a lot of power. You just see some of the muscles, and even though, it's just a sketch or a drawing, there's almost a sense of it roaring or, bellowing out in some way. I always find that seems to add like a power to the drawing, that the mouth being open I'm referring to. Now you can see here, I start to play around with a couple different horn patterns. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I start out pretty light, and if I don't like them, I'll get rid of them. But at this point, I like the big arrangement of horns on this guy. Now to me, it almost looks like I could have done one of two things here. I could have made that real large horn on the back of the head a singular horn, but in this case, it starts to feel like it's probably one of two, and there's probably another big one on the other side. But again, this guy just feels pretty dangerous. There's no good way to be hit by this head. There's spikes coming out in every direction. The teeth and the beak also look very sharp and look like they could just tear you to pieces. And with the big spooky eye, I think the Forest Ghost Dragon was the perfect name for this character. That may also indicate something about the sounds that he makes, the shrilling sounds he makes. There's just so many things that could influence a design decision on these things that. I decided to, in these sort of confessionals for these videos, do something that was a little more geared towards talking about expanding on the concepts rather than just me talking about, the pencil drawing technique over and over again. And I hope that it helps kind of open some of your, the way you might approach this, a more open-minded approach to dragons, so that everything doesn't wind up being, a big red dragon. The upper head almost reminds me, except for the size of the eye, it's somewhere between a snake and a turtle. The big eye really changes that, brings it out of that, that influence a little bit. I think I mentioned this a second ago, but it might be interesting to develop him as having a big single horn coming out of the back of his head too. You could probably go either way on this one. I didn't over define it in this drawing, so there's still, some room for choices to be made here. But again, there's our accent darks going in. And there we go, the Forest Ghost Dragon. Thanks again for joining me, guys. I hope you're having fun. We'll see you soon.